Hello everyone and welcome back to more Pikmin. We just unlocked a new area, the Forest Naval, and we will be spending our day going to the Forest Naval now that we have a new area that has been unlocked. So why don't we get started with exploring. I wouldn't exactly call this place a forest per se. If anything, this feels more like a desert level, and you'll kind of see why when we go throughout a bit of this day. But anyways, I get out 60 reds once again, and instead of going with 40 reds, what's 40 divided by 2? 20? Congratulations! I'm gonna use only 20 Pikmin because remember how I said yellows really aren't going to be needed? Yeah, today I really don't need a lot of yellows. I mostly have the reds work on this small little bridge, and it's for very good reason. You'll want to get that bridge done out of the way, and I won't really need that many Pikmin immediately. Not immediately. I decided to have my yellows work on this tree branch, I guess you could say, to get this, well, speed gear, I guess I'll call it. It's actually, I believe, the automatic gear, if I'm correct. And I'm going to have these yellows work on this. I could throw them, but there's going to be enemies down there, a form of sheer grub known as shearwigs, and I'll go over what they do a little bit later when we actually run into them. But point is, I'd rather them work on that instead of throwing them up, personally. And oh look, it's a blue onion. You'll never guess what it does, guys. You'll never guess what comes out of it. I wonder. I wonder, you know? It's a real good question. It's a bit of a tough one, you know? It's not like we've experienced this for the third time now, and check it out. Yep, the pellet moving in the cutscene. That's more important right now over the fact that we have blue Pikmin, which can traverse water. And that's going to be very, very helpful because there is quite a lot of water in this place, despite this place kind of being more like a desert, and you're going to be running into a lot of fire as well, which we'll deal with that a little bit later. But the water's going to be a lot more of a threat since we haven't had any ways to deal with water, and now we do. And speaking of water, we have this guy, the bread bug. The bread bug will try and take things and make them go back to its nest, which can be really annoying, especially when trying to raise up blues. And I tried to think of some different ways I could try to make it work, but honestly I decided to just bite the bullet and have the yellows take it back, even if I'm not going to get more blues, unfortunately. You'd think it'd be easier to get a lot more blues in this day than yellows, but I find it a lot harder because of the pellets. In that, unlike with the yellows, you had a bunch of bulborbs you could use to get a ton of Pikmin really quickly. Here you don't, so you have to kind of raise Pikmin very slowly, kind of like the impact site, except now you're on a time limit. So yeah, that's fun. And thankfully, what will happen when the yellows bring the bread bug back to the base is that it'll hit his head on the onion, it'll do major damage. You can throw Pikmin at its back, and it will flip it over and stun it for a bit. You're going to need to do that at least once to make sure it actually dies, as you'll see in just a moment. But first, well, as you'll see there. But more importantly, we got the automatic gear back. I'm pretty sure that's what it's called. Yes, it is. It has the thin cracks running through it. I tried to fill them with dirt. I hope it will fix it. Great idea. Then, oh my goodness! My space float. Yeah, just immediately dies after I get that cutscene. How nice, the glories of nature. But unfortunately, it requires 25 Pikmin, and after I feast on this bread bug's remains, we're only gonna have 24 Pikmin, so yeah, that was kind of annoying when that happened. I'm not gonna lie, that it only gave me 3 Pikmin, and then I have to go back for blues just to carry it back. Kind of a pain, if I'm gonna be honest, but hey, I got the part, and that's what's more important. And thankfully, I killed the bread bug, and that's even more important, because they're just kind of annoying, and especially this one, even though it's the only one that exists in the game. Ugh, it's a pain. I hate it. Especially when raising these blues. It is such a pain. And it almost always seems to get away with one. Though ironically, it taking one works out in my favor, because if I did it here, even though I would have gotten a couple more Pikmin, I would have had to carry that chip part all the way back, and there's no way I'd be able to get 25. No way. So honestly, it does kind of work out better in my favor, even if I think it's more annoying this way. And now we deal with the Shearwigs. Yay, my favorite. There is one thing I haven't mentioned about Sheargrubs or Shearwigs at all. For them to spawn, and yep, you can see right there, I threw a bunch of Pikmin and it didn't matter. It gobbled the Pikmin up just like that. But for that, Shearwigs to spawn out from their hiding place, and Sheargrubs for that matter, it's based on how close Olimar is to where they actually are. So once I walk up to a certain distance, that's when the Shearwigs will actually spawn in and actually come out of the ground. And if you're wondering why some Pikmin attack the ground, that's because that's where the Shearwig is supposed to be, but Olimar isn't close enough for it to spawn. So that's why you'll sometimes have Pikmin just attacking in random spots on the ground. And you really don't want that, because that pretty much leaves them up for the Shearwigs to eat them alive, let's say. Eat them alive. Eat them for breakfast, lunch, maybe even dinner. More importantly, just make sure you're careful with fighting Shearwigs. Just make sure you're absolutely careful with fighting them. But thankfully, they will go down in one hit if you can hit them in the air, which can be just a little bit tricky, but once you get it down, it can be very, very helpful. They also, for some reason, lose health when they're flying over water. Don't really know why that's the case, but that's something you're gonna be seeing more so in the next area we go to, which we won't be unlocking for a little bit, so that'll be a while. Anyways, I work on this bridge because the biggest problem with this area, at least getting started, is going to be carrying things back to base. So what I like to do is make sure on my first day, I try to unlock as many shortcuts as I can, so that way carrying things back to base will be much easier going forward. And as you can see, the reds are done with this bridge. And now I want them to get this other bridge done. And the reason I chose reds in particular, because that pig enemy over there is a fiery blowhog, which are pigs that breathe fire. I know, amazing. But simply put, they can be kind of a pain unless you have red Pikmin. If you have red Pikmin, they are no trouble whatsoever. Not a problem. You could sometimes leave them alone and just have them deal with reds, because they can't really do anything outside of just knocking them off and making them lose their flowers. Yes, Pikmin can lose their flowers. This more so happens in combat, more so when they get shaken off by enemies. It's not the worst thing in the world. Again, the more annoying thing is that tripping is such a huge problem and such a huge annoyance. Because it's very easy to lose track of Pikmin when they trip. When you're just running and you don't notice that a Pikmin tripped, it can really, really suck when that happens. Because sometimes we'll be wondering, hey, why is this Pikmin all the way out here in no man's land, when all you had to do was simply go back and check, or Just go very, very slowly and just make sure you were paying attention. And you could have saved that Pikmin from being left behind. It's really annoying, and it's very common in Pikmin 1. Out of every game, it is the most common that this happens. And I say games like it's in multiple games, but it's only in the first game and the second game. So, you can probably guess how well tripping was received. You can probably guess that they thought, you know, maybe this wasn't the best idea. Realistic? Sure. Annoying? Yes. Yes, it is. Yes, it is. Very much annoying. Very much annoying. But thankfully, in like a lot of complaints I have with this game, it's not really a big deal or affects my enjoyment too much. I can still have fun playing the game in spite of it. Over here we have another bridge right here. There are a bunch of blowhogs that I could have dealt with, but I decided not to, because again, I want to get a lot of these things done. Out of every area, I think this has the most amount of bridge work, stone walls, stuff like that that you have to take care of immediately, and it's really beneficial that you do, because it opens up, again, a lot more shortcuts to make things much easier for traversal. And surprisingly, in this day as well, even though I am working on a lot of this stuff as well, I have been getting a decent amount of ship parts. We got 3 today, and I wasn't even too focused on them. Those are pretty simple, easy parts to get. And heck, there's going to be even more with a part up here. You know, I'm pretty sure this is the last part I actually get in this part. There is one more part I tried to get, but unfortunately I just barely ran out of time. And you'll see that in just a moment, but I just barely ran out of time and I wasn't able to get it. But yeah, through doing this, I was able to get quite a number of parts while also unlocking a lot of areas along the way. And sometimes, yeah, walking up bridges can be kind of annoying with reds. Again, stuff they really, really worked out in games going forward. Or as far as Pikmin 2 were. Walking with Pikmin over bridges, that problem is almost completely gone. Almost completely gone. It's crazy how much of an improvement it really is. And the reason I want to work on this was because there's bomb rocks over here. And the reason I had reds get the gravity jumper was because of the fire blowhogs, which means I don't have to worry about the fire being a big pain in the tuchus, you know? A big pain in the tuchus. I did play this day a little bit tighter than I might have liked, because there was something I didn't realize. You actually get 20 bomb rocks over here, and I didn't know that at the time, so I had 15, which isn't the biggest deal in the world because I was able to get most of the things I want knocked out of the way, but still something more of I'd like to keep in mind for myself, for just if I ever, when I will play this game again. And because it's one of the things that I really like about playing Pikmin 1, where because it's a really short game and a very easy game to pick up and play, it's always one that I have a lot of fun going in and improving my time for how fast I can do it. And even when I do really well, because I think this is probably the best run I've had of this game personally, I'm still noticing things where I was like, hey, you know, maybe I could have done this a little bit faster. Or, okay, I know this now. Let me make sure I prepare for that the next time. And it feels great. It's super rewarding. It reminds me a lot of Luigi's Mansion and that kind of feeling, which is kind of ironic considering these were the 2 launch ship childs. Yes, that's totally what I meant to say. No. The launch ship titles that came out for the GameCube. So it's kind of fitting in a way. I could have destroyed the wall at base, and I was really worried that the Pikmin would have accidentally killed themselves with the bomb rocks, but they didn't. But I could have destroyed the one at base, but I decided to do this one in particular because there is something we're going to have to do, and my thought process is I should destroy this wall because it's going to be much more of a problem to deal with later. Because there's a section all the way to the right that hopefully my Pikmin go down to make it a lot easier. I don't remember, since this gameplay has been recorded 2 months in advance as I'm doing this commentary, so I don't remember entirely what happens. But I'm hopeful that's what happens. Very hopeful. And this is the first time I do this. You don't have to wait for the 10 count. You can actually just go to sunset immediately. And this is exactly what I do because I really have nothing better to do. So I was wrong about me getting a ship part today. That's the next day because I will be coming back here as well. So it's in the next day that happens, not today. But to be fair, can you really blame me for making that mistake? We made quite a bit of progress today. We got, I want to say, 3 or 4 parts in this one day, which honestly is pretty darn impressive. And there's an enemy right there we haven't seen. I'm sure they won't be a problem later on. Oh, I'm sure they won't. 4 days since impact. Deep in the cave I discovered in the forest, I encountered blue Pikmin. These blue fellows have something resembling gills on their cheeks, and they appear to be amphibious, surviving both in water and on land. The wonders of nature never cease to stun me, even in this alien land. 37 sprouted today. Yeah, it's really hard to raise a lot of Pikmin on this first day. And we only got 3 ship parts, so I was wrong. But hey, 3 is still pretty good for, again, mostly just getting ready to explore the area. Because we're only getting ready to explore the area. We haven't even finished exploring it yet. So yeah, look forward to more of the Forest Naval in part 5. Ciao!